looking at the race here tonight, we know they have been strong so far. You can see right there Isabella Robusto. What a weekend that she was having at Wake County Speedway. The best run of her career before getting tagged with a late race penalty and being relegated to the tail end of the field. Perhaps she, as she has been very strong so far these last couple of races, could be a challenger at the front of the field before all is said and done. But James, you mentioned at the top of the show as well, how about the star power that we have here at Florence Motor Speedway? Again, this is Darlington race weekend for Labor Day weekend, so many, I think, race fans that are going to be just down the road at Darlington Raceway tomorrow and on Sunday are venturing out here as well. I know there's plenty of folks within that industry that are walking. I just saw Steve Post. He waved to Jacqueline a little bit before her pit report there. Saw Ryan Sparks, crew chief for Corey LaJoy, who was walking the grandstands just a couple of minutes ago before we started our broadcast. And then how about that man right there, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who is not only back here at Florence Motor Speedway, James, but has been performing and improving each time that he has been running in these late model stock car races.
Well, we knew Dale Jr. was going to be here. We knew for a long, long while that he was going to be here. That was announced back, I believe, in March, if my memory serves me correctly. But then the star power sort of piled on lately. Kevin Harvick announced recently that he was going to be running the Pro Late Model race. We didn't find out until very recently that Bubba Wallace was going to be running in a Legend car. Raja Karuth also announced this week, there's his car, the number 71HendrickCars.com Chevrolet, but he announced earlier this week that he was going to run in Florence. And I think sort of to the point that you just made, that because this is Darlington weekend, this traditionally has been a really big weekend for the local show here at Florence Motor Speedway. There's going to be racing all 3 nights, Friday and then tomorrow night and Sunday afternoon before the Southern 500. It's a big weekend of activity, and because we're so close to Darlington, we've got a lot of people from the National Touring Series that have decided to come on down once their work is done at the big track and come see what the Z-Max Cars Tour is up to.
You can see there Brexton Bush as well. He'll be taking part in Bandolero racing. That'll, of course, be part of our local competition here. But again, rolling a couple or the last few Pro Late models through qualifying tech right now, the cause for the delay. But when we come back, the late model stock cars should be ready to roll here from Florence Motor Speedway. We'll be right back on FloRacing's coverage of the Z-Max Cars Tour, presented by Sound Gear. Welcome back to Florence Motor Speedway, and again, it looks like the last Pro Late model has finally made its way through qualifying tech, and Preacher Joe Lewis down there with the stop sign, you can see him standing down there with it, is just about ready to flip that sign to let Connor Hall and the rest of the field go out to make their qualifying laps. We have a little bit of a different procedure today, James, as far as qualifying is concerned. No dead lap for these late model stock cars today. They go out and they will immediately take the green flag, but before we get rolling for qualifying, let's head down to Jacqueline Drake.
Standing here with one of the local favorites, Mason Diaz, who is right alongside me. We're just talking about the qualifying and the no dead lap that you mentioned there, Blake. Mason, what do you think about that, and how will you adjust your qualifying efforts when you go out?
Well, it's kind of a big deal getting heat in the tires, so I'm not quite sure why it changed. It is what it is. Everyone's on the same boat, so we all be able to practice it. I don't think you're going to see the fast speeds like we normally would see in qualifying, just because we don't have that one more lap to get heat in the tires. So tires might not come into 3 and 4 come into the checkered. So speeds might be a little bit lower, but I say that, but somehow everyone in qualifying finds an extra 0.3. So it's kind of hard to judge, but everyone was able to practice it and learn about it, so we'll see.
And ultimately today, heading out on the track in those F45s again, what are you going to do, if anything, different than what you used to do back in the past of having these tires?
I don't think anything different. The main thing is that I raced a couple local races and been on 45s, and some of these guys haven't touched 45s in their career or in a long time since last year. I'm excited for the 45s to be back. I enjoy racing them a lot more than the ST2s, so we'll see tonight. I mean, obviously, start saving now. It's going to be one of those races like we always see last year, and I think it'll be a good race for the fans.
Mason Diaz, one of the local favorites again right here at Florence Motor Speedway, finished 7th the last time in his latest Cars Tour appearance at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
Was a really solid run for the Hedgecock Racing Group and Mason Diaz. The last time he was out, as Jacqueline mentioned, it was a 7th place run for Mason Diaz. But also Mason made a great point there, James, that I know we were going to touch on at some point during this broadcast, that we do have a lot of drivers that this has been their debut in late model stock car racing in this tour. All of that so far has been on the ST2, and then you ask so many of them, like Trayton Lapsovich or Brent Cruz, Landon Lewis, drivers that maybe don't have a lot of experience or any experience on this tire, to come out to Florence Motor Speedway. What a challenge that will be. It won't be much of a challenge for this driver, though, who will be the first to take the green flag in the number 22 Autos by Nelson Blue Ridge color in Town Bank Toyota out of Hampton, Virginia. Your current championship points leader will get us started in single car qualifying here at Florence Motor Speedway. It is Connor Hall in the Castrol Toyota who will run his first lap at Florence Motor Speedway. And again, this is a track that this driver, even recently as this season, in fact, he came out the first weekly late model stock car race that was ran here at Florence Motor Speedway, led every lap, and won the race. Checkered flag in the air, and as far as timing and scoring is concerned, we'll give that lap to you as soon as it is relayed to us. But Connor Hall, first one to go through, and his official lap of record will be a 17.775.
And the second car out on the racetrack, the number 21 Hartsville Country Club JP Performance Machine out of Hartsville, South Carolina. One of the local stalwarts here at Florence Motor Speedway, Casey Kelly. Come across the stripe. First lap is a 17.953, puts him second on the board. He's the current points leader in track points here at Florence Motor Speedway, but this is his first Cars Tour start, though he did finish third in the Icebreaker here in February, so he's got some experience competing against some strong drivers. We'll see how he stacks up compared to Connor Hall and everyone else in qualifying times. His fastest lap will be that 9.53. He ran a 69 seconds, so Casey Kelly's second on the board.
I was about to say, we listed off Connor Hall's lap at a 17.7. That's the fastest lap we've seen all weekend across any car. We had 5 hours of practice yesterday. Matt Cox was down into the 17.8 yesterday, and even was talking with Cody Kelly. That can be a little bit confusing as an identical twin myself. I know that struggle about just the fact that, yes, it seemed overall cars were a little bit slower than what they have been the last couple of days, and they contributed that to a number of factors, including perhaps the heat. But we talked about drivers that may not have a ton of experience on the F45. That includes Grimsby, Ontario, Canada's Trayton Lapsovich in the number 77, Everum Bare Knuckles Fighting, and Allrim Racing Chevrolet. For Chad Bryant Racing, whose first lap will clock in at an 18.005 for the number 77. Second lap around, coming off a second place finish at Wake County Speedway just a couple of days ago, and Lapcevich will improve. In fact, he'll go up into the second spot, passes the local favorite in Kelly, and Lapcevich's new lap of record is 17.871.
And that brings out the number 1 machine out of Youngsville, North Carolina, the ABC Hosiery machine, piloted by Andrew Grady. Makes his way out of turn 4. Grady had that great run at Tri-County back in May, Memorial Day weekend, where he finished 4th. Trying to build on that here this afternoon. His first lap of record is at 18.229, and 18.229 for Andrew Grady, 4th fastest on the board. Let's see whether or not he can improve upon that and gain a few tenths of a second to get himself further up the order as he comes out of turn 4 to complete his qualifying effort. And Grady does go a little bit quicker. It's an 18.085. That is the lap record for Grady, still 4th on the qualifying charts.
Was talking to this driver a little bit earlier today, and again, a return to his roots, but it's been a couple of years since you saw this driver with Rev Racing running at Greenville Pickens Speedway several years ago, and how great is it to have this driver out with us, currently chasing a championship in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series playoffs. Behind the wheel, the number 71, HendrickCars.com, Spire, and Pinnacle Chevrolet for RNS Race Cars out of Washington, D.C. Glad to welcome Raja Caruth, making his ZMAX Cars Tour late model stock debut. Talking to his team a little bit earlier, they've been impressed with his consistency throughout each of the days of practice that they've had thus far. First lap of record is an 18.139. Caruth's second effort is going to put him up into the 4th position, an 18.048 for the number 71.
Up next to the racetrack, the number 54 machine out of Jacksonville, North Carolina, that belongs to Michael Foss. Now takes to turn 2 in the backstretch here at Florence Motor Speedway. Was actually the 10th place finisher in the inaugural Cars Tour race back in 2015 at Southern National Motorsports Park. First lap of record for Michael Foss is at 18.326. That puts him 6th on the board. An opportunity to try and improve that, to try and get closer to Connor Hall's 17.775 that currently paces this field. Foss making his way through 3 and 4, off the exit of the corner, across the start finish line, and Foss improves to an 18.176, and that will leave him 6th on the board in qualifying is Michael Foss.
7th car to make a time in single car qualifying was watching a race from a couple of years ago in 2021. This driver had a lot of tire left at the end of that race and nearly drove up before Caden Honeycutt ended up taking that win in the late model stock. But we'll see if more of the same or perhaps a little bit better can be on the docket for this number 2 Crossroads Harley-Davidson, Grand Atlantic Resorts, and Josh Wine Chevrolet. The driver from Oak Ridge, North Carolina is Brandon Pierce, whose first lap is going to clock in 7th of the 7 cars we've sent out thus far, 18.247. See another lap go on by. Will it be better for Brandon Pierce? Looks like that is not going to be the case. So an 18.2, or, well, it'll refresh. He'll go up to 6th at 18.161, so ahead of the 54 of Michael Foss.
And that brings up Jacob Hefner, the number 95 machine, the Hefner's Towing and Recovery JHGD Wraps car. Driver out of Dallas, North Carolina, now takes to Florence Motor Speedway. And although he's one of the younger drivers in the Tour, he's only one of 4 drivers in the field that has 4 starts in the South Carolina 400. So plenty of experience on this tire, plenty of experience at this racetrack. He ran an 18.220, his first lap of record, as he comes out of turn 4 and across the stripe. He goes to a 17.926, so a solid pickup of 2 to 3 tenths, and that leaves him 3rd currently in qualifying.
Again, a lot of the AK Performance bunch were pretty excited about the cars that they have brought today, and Jacob Hefner, talked to him a little earlier. He said, this is a track I deserve to run well at, and right now qualified in a solid position is 17.926. Well behind, though, I mean, Connor Hall still nearly a 10th clear of the rest of the field. We'll see if this driver can upset that. Behind the wheel, the number 44 Jones Utilities machine out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. This is Connor Jones, who will be pulling a double in this one, both in the late model stock and the pro late model. So you can see how close he gets to the wall. Checkered flag in hand. Jones up to 5th. New lap of record 18.023. So Connor Jones, at least for now, up into the top 5.
You want to talk about the ZMAX Cars Tour presented by Sound Gear as a place to develop talent? Look no further than this driver, the Liberty in a Can Reigns Company Ledford Billiard Supply, number 51S, out of AK Performance Shop, originally from Marietta, Georgia. Donovan Strauss takes the racetrack. Strauss making his Cars Tour debut, but he's third in track points and the defending Pro Legends National Champion amongst INEX Racing in the U.S. Legends cars. So Strauss making his way up the ladder. First lap was an 18.027 for this driver making his Cars Tour debut. Also a competitor in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series as well. He comes to the line. He'll be fifth on the board, 17.983 for Donovan Strauss.
Heard from this driver a little bit earlier, courtesy of Jacqueline Drake. Behind the wheel, the number 45 Hedgecock Racing, and Prince William Airbag, number 45. Out of Manassas, Virginia, this is Mason Diaz, who, as we mentioned, coming off his strongest run of the season. In fact, finally, a black cloud came out from under him just after all the bad luck that this driver has experienced throughout the 2024 season. And his first lap is a great one. Fourth fastest for Mason Diaz at a 17.950. Great opening lap. We've seen many drivers, just about all of them, pick up on lap 2. Does Diaz have more in store as far as that is concerned? He does. Second quickest for Mason Diaz, 17.827. First driver that's nearly come within half a tenth of Connor Hall thus far.
A fabulous run for Diaz, and this is another driver who I think a lot of people will have favored. The defending South Carolina 400 race winner out of Full Shear, Texas, the Valasta Pro Year Tank Lines Race City Steel Machine from Matt Piercy Racing. It's the number 23 of Cade Brown. Brown comes to the stripe, puts down his first time, an 18.092. I imagine this is a driver that a lot of people are going to be looking at as a sort of pace setter with that kind of experience and winning the crown jewel event of the Diamond of the Southeast. They're going to be looking at Cade Brown as a litmus throughout the evening as he comes to the line to finish off qualifying. He sets his second lap. He'll go to sixth with a 17.982 on the stopwatch.
Again, former track champion here at Florence Motor Speedway before doing the same at Hickory last year. Cade Brown can certainly use this run tonight at Florence Motor Speedways. We welcome back for the first time in 2024. The 2W is on the racetrack right now. The Victorian Senior Care Ford out of Randleman, North Carolina. Please welcome back Ryan Wilson to ZMAX Cars Tour competition. Been running weekly shows throughout the season at South Boston, a Speedway, a couple of other racetracks. First lap, it's going to be 12th fastest for the red number 2W of Ryan Wilson. In fact, would start alongside another number 2 in Brandon Pierce should he not find more time on lap number 2, and he does, but he will stay on that same row. 11th fastest for Ryan Wilson at 18.106.
The fans have gotten out of their seats to see this driver take to the racetrack in the Sunjump Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports out of Kannapolis, North Carolina. The number 3 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. now setting his qualifying laps. It's his second Cars Tour start in 2024 following his April run at New River All-American Speedway. And for what it's worth, he raced a year ago here at Florence Motor Speedway and finished 6th. 2023 locked-in 150 that was run on this weekend. First lap for Dale Earnhardt Jr. is an 18.323, which will be 14th on the qualifying board. So Jr. will have one more opportunity to work his way back to the start-finish line and try and gain a little bit of time. And as he comes across the stripe, he'll go to the top 10 with an 18.065. So Dale Earnhardt Jr. currently qualified in 10th.
Again, it's a push and tug between these drivers and these teams, many of which don't expect to qualify so well. I know that's often a strategy implied by some of these elite podium performance cars in terms of the motor that they bring out to this racetrack. They're more looking to what they can do in the race when we get through 125 laps. But this driver qualified very well last week, started in 4th, and Robusto first time through will be 14th in number 55 JBL and Mobile One Toyota for Lee Podium Performance. Again, was running up in the top 5 of that race all race long, and Robusto's second effort is going to be quite a pickup up into the 8th position for Isabella Robusto. Just cracks the 17-second bracket at 17.996.
Up next to the racetrack is the Pro Year Tank Lines number 11V, racing for Van Dyke Racing Performance out of Littleton, North Carolina. This is Buddy Isles Jr. This is his first full-time season in the late model stock cars of the ZMAX Cars Tour. Local to Wake County Speedway and Orange County Speedway. First lap for Buddy Isles Jr. is an 18.251. So a bit of a transition, especially last week. You think how tight Wake County is, and you come to a track that's almost twice as big, not quite, but Buddy Isles rolls it out of turn 4, comes off the flag stand, and his final lap put him 9th with an 18.012. Buddy Isles Jr. 9th in the qualifying order.
We talked about a number of drivers who are competitive and looking to try and win a championship, despite the fact that his race did not end the way he would have wanted to at Wake County Speedway. After dominating that one and leading 71 laps, ends up with a 14th place finish, but still has a shot, sitting just 16 markers back of Connor Hall in the championship lead. In the number 29 Mobil 1 Toyota for Kevin Harvick Incorporated, it is the 29 of Brent Cruz out of Hickory, North Carolina, whose first lap through is going to put that 29 in 15th, 18.120 for the 29 of Brent Cruz. Uses every bit of racetrack, may have tagged the wall just a bit out of turn 4, but he will find some more speed out of using that line. 18.071 for Brent Cruz, looking to get back into the championship fight.
Up next to take time is the 04 machine, the Bessemer Tire and Auto Affordable Heating and Air Bassett Gutters car, piloted by Winston-Salem, North Carolina's Ronnie Bassett Jr., of course the winner of the Throwback 276 at Hickory Motor Speedway just about a month ago. Bassett will come across the line. His first lap of record is an 18.086, which puts him 15th on the board of 18 drivers that have qualified. 29 in our full qualifying order, so about 10 drivers left to go as Ronnie Bassett Jr. will wheel it out of turn 4 sideways just a little bit, come back to the flag stand, and he will go up to 4th. A great second lap for Ronnie Bassett Jr. 17.910 to put Ronnie Bassett in 4th on the charts.
I was talking about the practice speeds that we had yesterday. This was the one who topped the charts in terms of the 5-hour session that both the Pro Late Models and the Late Model Stock Cars got to enjoy on Thursday. Behind the wheel, the number 51, Aaron Sales and Lease and Elliott Properties Chevrolet. He calls Little River, South Carolina home. It's the number 51 of Matt Cox, whose first lap is going to be a great one. 7th fastest for the number 51 at a 17.977. Can he improve a couple of spots and get up into the top 5? Perhaps challenge for the front row. Matt Cox through this time to the start-finish line, and indeed he will crack the top 5. 17.912 puts him just 2/1000ths outside of the lap that Ronnie Bassett Jr. just laid down.
There will be a tremendous amount of eyes on this driver this evening. The best repair service, LeafCars.com, Folsom Fence Supply, Lee Pulliam Performance, 03 Toyota out of Chesapeake, Virginia. This is Brendan Queen, who enters the evening 3 points back of Connor Hall in the championship fight. Queen will set a fast first lap, 17.916. Of course, Butterbean's been to victory lane here before. He's the 2022 winner of the South Carolina 400. He started and finished second here when the Cars Tour raced at this track in March of last year. Butterbean comes to the line and goes to second, a 17.811. So Hall and Queen, first and second in the championship, currently first and second on the grid as well.
You talk about every point mattering, and as we get later into this running order, in fact, Ryan Glinsky in the number 28 RG Excavating Chevrolet out of Mooresville, North Carolina, be the 21st driver to go out, so about 8 more that Connor Hall will have to stave off. But when you think about the battle for this championship, every point matters. And the fact that, again, that little of a difference could be the difference between a 3 and a 5-point margin before we take the green flag in this one. But Ryan Glinsky, one of the many drivers that call Florence Motor Speedway home and could certainly challenge for a race win here tonight. Glinsky's first lap will put that 28G in 20th. Second lap will improve 1 position up into the 19th spot. 18.154 for the number 28 of Ryan Glinsky.
And to the racetrack comes another one of the local stalwarts here at the Diamond of the Southeast, the Tobaccoville USA Hartsville Country Club, number 13 out of Hartsville, South Carolina. This is Cody Kelly, who now takes to the racetrack. He was the pole sitter for the Cars Tour race here last March. His first lap is a 17.951, good enough for 8th on the charts. He also finished 3rd on the race weekend, this time 1 year ago, in the locked-in 150. Led about 93 or so laps of that 150 lap affair. So plenty of experience, plenty of know-how, and plenty of power to get that 13th to 4th on the charts with a 17.835. Fabulous lap for Cody Kelly that puts him currently, provisionally, in the top 5.
Talked about drivers that may not have a ton of experience on the F45s. It includes this one, who was also your most recent winner in the ZMAX Cars Tour presented by Sound Gear. Went out in just his 8th start and won at, well, as he would have said on the Stickered Up podcast earlier this week, Robert Arch's Wake County Speedway. The number 62 King Custom Panels, Rent Source, and Car Quest machine for Kevin Harvick Incorporated. This is Landon Lewis out of Supply, North Carolina, whose first lap through for the number 62 looks like it puts him outside of the top 20. Second lap, is it going to be any better for that of Landon Lewis? It'll be 14th fastest at an 18.016 for the driver fresh off his first ZMAX Cars Tour victory.
We know how important momentum is in racing, and this driver may have more of it than just about anyone else in the ZMAX Cars Tour late model stock car field entering this evening. It's the Leisure Time Rentals number 15 machine out of Saville Millington Motorsports Shop from Statesville, North Carolina. This is Ryan Millington, and he's had plenty of pace over the course of the last few races or so. 5th on the board with a 17.837. In the last 4 ZMAX Cars Tour races, he's led 197 laps of competition. Has yet to turn that into a trip into Cookout Victory Lane, but he'll be looking forward to tonight as an opportunity to improve his fortunes as Millington will go faster on that first lap. That 8.37 is the fastest lap for Millington. He currently sits 5th on the board.
Last time this driver came out, he sat on the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson Pole Award at Ace Speedway. In fact, just had to pull out of that race early, unfortunately with crush panel damage that relegated him to where he had to leave the cockpit of his race car, of which he was running in the top 3 at the moment. He also won at a very abrasive surface at New River All-American Speedway earlier this year in the number 6 Sterling Building Group Black Acid Apparel and WG Speaks Ford. For RNS Race Cars out of Madison, North Carolina, Bobby McCarty, 9th fastest, first trip through. Wheeling it off of turn 4, looking for some more speed out of the car, but unfortunately will not find any on his second go around. But Bobby McCarty solidly in the top 10 with just a couple of drivers left to go.
Next car out on the racetrack is the Menac Corporation Tidewater Safety Shoes AH Race Cars machine from his own shop in Prince William, Virginia, the 00 of Chase Burrow, who had an adventure to say the least during practice Friday last year in March. They blew a motor and had to run back to Virginia and change it in the parking lot. So I think there'll be less calamity for Chase Burrow this time around, and I think he'll appreciate that. A 17.980 on the first go-rounds here, and up to the 12th position for Chase Burrow after lap 1 of qualifying, running a partial schedule this year, not full-time in the ZMAX Cars, sort of focusing on races like this. And on the second lap, he puts down a 17.937, which is his fastest lap of the 2, and that will put him 11th on the charts.
Just 3 cars left to go, including a driver that has brought his late model stock car out here to Florence Motor Speedway in the last couple of weeks, and a couple of local shows here, as well as starting to scale back and run part-time throughout the second half of the ZMAX Cars Tour season. In the number 16 Aaron Sales and Lease Elliott Properties Ford out of Supply, North Carolina. This is Chad McCumbee, whose first lap through is 13th, right in the meat of the sandwich in terms of qualifying here throughout the field. Just look at the times and how close all of these drivers are. 17.967, just a little bit of a hiccup may put McCumbee up into the top 10, and he comes up just shy of it, 4 1/1000ths of a second off the lap of Jacob Hefner. But Chad McCumbee right now looking to line up in 11th with 2 cars left to go.
Up next on the racetrack, the Convenience Tire and Auto BDL Motorsports Solid Rock Carriers number 81 out of Manassas, Virginia for Timmy Tyrell Racing. This is Minnie Tyrell, who's also had a good run of form as of late. 4 consecutive top 10s and 3 straight top 5s in ZMAX Cars Tour competition. His first lap of record comes up on the board, and he will run an 18.132, 25th to start. Minnie also led 74 laps in the most recent Cars Tour race here back in March of last year. Faded a little bit late in the going, so we'll look at this as an opportunity to try and gain a few more points and keep the going. Second lap up for Minnie Tyrell. It's a 17.934. That's good enough for 12th on the board with 1 more car left to qualify.
Last car left to challenge for the pole position here at Florence Motor Speedway this afternoon. Behind the wheel, the number 28 Knight Companies and PRG Chevrolet out of Hildebrand, North Carolina. Landon S. Huffman, the final bullet in the chamber that Connor Hall has to dodge to try and hold on to the top spot here this evening. And Huffman's first lap through is not going to crack the top 25, it would appear, for the number 28. In fact, goes 29th fastest at an 18:4.29. Checkered flag in hand. Landon S. Huffman finds about 2/10, but will stay in that 29th position. And so, at the end of it all, how about it, James Pike? He came in with the championship points lead, and he gets to leave with 2 additional markers out of Thunder Road Harley-Davidson qualifying, as Connor Hall will be your pole sitter for the 2nd time this season, and will take the green flag from the first position tonight in the Cookout 225.
If you're keeping track of things at home and you're putting together your live points, that championship margin between Connor Hall and Butterbean is now 5 points, as Connor Hall takes on the Thunder Road Harley-Davidson Pole Award. And how precious, how important could that be? Last year, I think of the championship battle and how close it became at the very ends. Those 2 points could be everything when we get to North Wilkesboro Speedway in October.
And again, I feel like every single race we talk about how important track position is, that may not. To roll out here for their qualifying as well. First lap through is going to be the 00 machine. Wilson Motorsports Toyota of Jimmy Renfrew Jr. out of Candia, New Hampshire, in the R&R Race Parts Toyota. And his first lap, including second lap here, going to be scored at a 17.682. For Jimmy Renfrew Jr., the 00R, looking to get back into the championship fight as well. It'll be our first car that we send out. So we start with a couple of heavy hitters here in the late model stocks and pro late models.
Next up on the racetrack, a late entry into the field for this evening's competition in the ZMAX Cars Tour Pro Late Models. It's the number 22G of Dusty Garris. Garris comes across the line. His first lap is an 18.076, so that's about 4/10 off the time that Jimmy Renfrew Jr. set. Renfrew, of course, been in the top 5 in points in Pro Late Models for pretty much the duration of the ZMAX Cars Tour season. Garris will bring it back across the line underneath the checkered flag and improves by 2/10 to set his fast time of a 17.813.
So Garris, second fastest of the 2 cars we've sent out. You can notice the times, again, these cars a lot lighter. And again, worth mentioning that we talk about the new tire this weekend for the ZMAX Cars Tour, or I guess you could call it the old tire, but the Pro Late models are still running on the ST2s for the duration of the running this evening. But how about this driver makes a mid-season switch to a brand new race team for him, and it ended up with a great run at Ace Speedway in which he nearly challenged for the race win, and looking to do the same tonight as he'll take the top spot early on his fast lap. There's the 47 of Caden Honeycutt out of Aledo, Texas, in the Atlanta Paving and Concrete Chevrolet, 17.457. Honeycutt second time through. He'll shave 100th off of that time, so 17.447 in the 47, looking to try to take 2 championship points in a tied championship battle with Spencer Davis.
The next driver out on the racetrack is a familiar face to fans of the ZMAX Cars Tour presented by Sound Gear, but normally you would expect him to be in a late model stock car. It's the Jones Utilities number 67 out of Sharon, South Carolina. It's Cameron Boland. Cameron, of course, had the wreck with the late model at North Wilkesboro. He thought his season was done, but they grabbed the pro late model, managed to get him out here, so he's competing just in the pro late models this time around. His first lap of record is a 17.608. 2/10 off the time that Honeycutt set. Good enough for second on the board. And Boland, the South Carolina Palmetto State native, do well within his home borders and puts down a 17.536. So he will stay second on the board.
You know, talking with him, he was anxious and excited about this race tonight. And we'll see what Cameron Boland can do by the time it is all said and done, as we welcome back a driver who, again, was able to come out the last time that we've ran the Pro Late Models a couple of weeks ago at Ace Speedway to make his ZMAX Cars Tour Pro Late Model debut, piloting the ride that was once with Caden Honeycutt behind the wheel, but behind it now is Travis Braden out of Wheeling, West Virginia, the number 51 Page Construction, Door Works, and Schaefer's Oil Chevrolet for Maverick Page Motorsports. First lap, 17.686, Chester 400, and second lap through, going to be a little bit of improvement there for Travis Braden. Third fastest, 17.608, the new lap for the Page KC in number 51.
Next up on the racetrack, a driver who's had a fair amount of success in the Pro Late Models this year in the ZMAX Cars Tour. It's the Sensor Racing and Development number 6 machine. This driver out of Hampton, Virginia. It's Tristan McKee up on the racetrack. McKee 7th in the point standings, 40 points back of our tied leaders, Caden Honeycutt and Spencer Davis, entering this evening. First lap record for Tristan McKee is the fastest one, 17.412, to go 300ths faster than Caden Honeycutt and claim the provisional pole for the time being. McKee's also got 2 victories this year at Caraway and then at North Wilkesboro in August. McKee improves upon that quick time and drops another 10th to a 17.316. Now the marker to beat. Tristan McKee, fastest time so far.
About to say he found another 10th on lap 2, and there have been a couple of races this year off and on where that number 6 has been the one to chase. And we'll see if that's the case again tonight. The Pro Late Models from Florence Motor Speedway is the other 6 car that you'll see, the 6B out of Woodstock, Georgia, the teammate car to the number 47 of Caden Honeycutt that you just saw roll out a couple of entries ago. This is Brandon Lopez in the Atlanta Paving and Concrete Chevrolet. His first lap is going to be 6th of the 7th cars that we've sent thus far, 17.761. First lap for Brandon Lopez, second one through to the checkered flag. Well, he is going to find a little bit of time here. Third fastest, in fact, for Lopez, so sits just behind his teammate, Caden Honeycutt, 17.480. A big pickup on lap 2 for Lopez.
Next step to the racetrack is the Church's Carpet Appalachian Moccasin AR Body 7T out of Hickory, North Carolina. This is Tyler Church, now making his qualifying attempt at Florence Motor Speedway. Church making his 8th career ZMAX Cars Tour start. Best finish this season at Tri-County Motor Speedway back on Memorial Day weekend. First lap of record for Tyler Church is a 17.775. That puts the 7T 7th on the board. Let's see whether or not Church can improve as he comes back across the stripe to finish his qualifying session. And he will hold in position and go into position number 7 on the board.
Next up, a driver that we've seen the last handful of weekends, albeit it hasn't always been behind the wheel of this number 35 CorvetteParts.net, Elkian Mechanical, and Ware's Machine, number 35. Out of Mooresville, North Carolina, this is Caden Quapple, who's enjoyed the opportunity the last couple of weeks to run the late model stocks for Junior Motorsports, but has also thrust himself back into the championship conversation, and he'll do so again tonight with his first lap being second fastest, 17.426 for Caden Quapple. Can he find the same speed that McKee did on lap 2? He'll find a little bit, but not enough. Caden Quapple, second fastest at a 17.402. Oh man, big moment for Dylan Garner.
Huge moment there for the Global Emission Systems G-Sport by GESI Looks Headers car out of Mooresville, North Carolina for Dylan Garner. He got very, very sideways there at a turn 4. One of the biggest catches I think that we've seen in all of this Malley Pistons Bowl qualifying session for the Pro Late Models of the Z-Max Cars Tour. First lap of record for Dylan Garner is 17.930. The opportunity to try and improve upon that. A little bit of 10th back of Dusty Garris for 9th on the board as it stands. So one more shot for Garner to work his way around the corner and down to the start-finish line. And he will improve ever so slightly. 17.660 for Dylan Garner, which puts him 8th in timing and score.
We have seen this driver a number of times impress here in Mahle Pole Award qualifying. He grabbed the pole at Tri-County Speedway earlier this spring. He did the same at North Wilkesboro Speedway, a palace of speed, about a month ago. We'll see if the same can be said for this number 43, CB Partners Automotive, RE Suspension, and AFCO Chevrolet out of Stanley, North Carolina. Nick Loden making his first qualifying times around, and Loden, through his first lap, is going to be scored 11th fastest, 17.921 for the 43 Corvette. Checkered flag, second lap through, And will it be a pickup here for Nick Loden? Indeed it will. He'll go up into 10th position now, 17.718, as he finds about a tenth of a second on his second go-around.
And we go from the number 43 to the number 43H out of Claremont, North Carolina. This is the Oxford Baptist Church Simpson Race Products Gourmet Popcorn 113 machine for Joshua Horniman. Works his way to turn 4 to set his first lap of record. And Horniman running 17.994 on the opening lap to go 12th on the board. We've seen a little bit of pickup amongst most of these drivers in the Pro Late models, usually about a tenth or two. So we'll see how Horniman fares and compares to everyone else in the field as he comes across the track to finish his qualifying run. He will stay in the 12th position in the qualifying order with a 17.913.
Mentioned two of those drivers that are locked in the battle for the championship. This is one of those drivers tied right now with the 47 of Caden Honeycutt. Behind the wheel, the number 29, Max Industrial and G.E. Brown Chevrolet out of Dawsonville, Georgia. This is Spencer Davis. Little bit sideways off of turn 4, but looking for a fast first lap, and Davis is third quickest. Still has not won a Mahle Pole Award, but has 2 points on the table if he can find a little bit shy of a tenth of a second here on his second lap. Off of turn 4, looks to be smooth. Is it faster for Davis? It is, but he comes up just shy, 17.328, as Tristan McKee barely holds claim to the Mahle Pole Award for now.
Here comes another driver who should be a threat for the Mahle Pole Award. It's the LPG Transport Pacific Coast Propane Factory Canopy Strange Oval Machine, the 24 out of the Wilson Motorsports Camp, the driver out of Huntington Beach, California. This is Jake Bowman, who won at Tri-County back in May. Had the opportunity to celebrate in Cookout Victory Lane. Puts a 17.353 on the board on his first lap. Good enough for third, and he needs just under half a tenth to go in the neighborhood of Tristan McKee and take the provisional pole as he crosses the line. May have been an identical lap there for Bowman. No movement there. A 17.353 is what we have in timing and scoring, so third for Bowman.
So I slowed down a little bit, and again, nearly tagged the wall off of turn 4, but making his Pro Late Model debut after a couple of starts in the late model stocks. It's not his first time in a straight rail chassis car. Ran a Super Late Model several weeks ago, earlier this summer. Behind the wheel, the 62 Hunt Brothers Pizza and Real Tree Chevrolet. It's Rackley War, the race team he's driving for. Out of Bakersfield, California, this is Kevin Harvick, whose first lap is going to put that number 62 8th fastest, 17.551. Final car to go out in qualifying. Does he challenge for the Mahle Pole? He almost cracks the top 5, but for Kevin Harvick in the 62, it'll be 6th fastest for the Hunt Brothers Pizza Machine. So Kevin Harvick ends up in 6th, but it'll be Tristan McKee who will once again grab claim to the Mahle Pole Award. Second time he's done that this season after starting at first at Caraway Speedway. And it's interesting, I was talking with Tristan a little bit earlier today and was asking him how the car was this weekend. He said, we're struggling a little bit, but I would say right now, not struggling at all. That is a fast number 6 Setzer Racing and Development machine.
Isn't that just the nature of drivers, though, to be a little bit coy about how well they think their car might be, maybe not necessarily show all their hand? But get this, Blake. If you look at the last 5 races, and you include this race, and you look at the qualifying efforts for Tristan McKee, take out the 8th and the throwback 276, pole at Caraway, second at North Wilkesboro, second at Ace, and now on the Mahle Pistons pole here at Florence Motor Speedway. So as of late, that Setzer Racing and Development number 6, they figured it out in qualifying sessions.
That they did. Spencer Davis, again, had the opportunity, just like we saw with Connor Hall, being your championship points leader, to try and get those 2 points in qualifying. He comes up just shy, just 12 one-thousandths of a second shy of trying to take down the Mahle Pole Award. He ends up in second. Jake Bowman, Caden Quapple, and Caden Honeycutt, your top 5. So when you talk about drivers who are battling for the points, I know there's a lot of different agendas out there in terms of drivers that are out here to just simply go to Cookout Victory Lane in the Cookout 225 versus those that are in contention for the championship. You look at the top 5, pretty much all of them still have a shot to try and chase down your points leaders in Honeycutt and Spencer Davis with 4 races left to go.
The difference here between the late models and the Pro Late models, with the late models, Connor Hall picked up some points. It's just track position with Spencer Davis. He'll roll off second. Honeycutt will roll off fifth. So a 3-position gap to start the race, which would equate to 3 points if it held all the way through. But we'll have somewhere in the ballpark of 100 laps of action for the Pro Late models. And I have a feeling, Blake, that between the beginning of the race and the end, a lot will change.
And it's definitely going to be the case. You can see the Pro Late models, the late model stock cars are done. Again, there's a lot on the program tonight here from Florence Motor Speedway. The Cars Tour is only a portion of that. The Bandoleros will be taking place a little bit later on tonight. We'll have Legend Cars competition as well as the Allison Legacy Racing Series that will also be out here tonight. I think you mentioned it earlier, James, a weekend full of racing here, both at Florence Motor Speedway and, of course, nearby Darlington Raceway. A fantastic weekend of racing for all around, and what a great weekend it will be as the sun's starting to set just a little bit and cast what I think will be a much appreciated shadow over some of the grandstands here that are, again, just about full of race fans already. It's 5:30. We're not getting started for a little bit, and yet we have a ton of race